Welcome to a quick guide for Horridon. Before we start, do note that the more DPS you want to do, the more padding on Horridon you have to do. But we will take a look at what you can do with the specs. Let's first take a look at what the mechanics are in the fight. You will have Horridon up during the whole fight and adds will spawn at each gate. This obviously means we have a lot of things to multidot, and the option to execute adds very so often as Affliction and Destruction, making this fight supreme for Warlocks. Every time we close a gate on Horridon, he gets a debuff with 50% more damage taken, making padding and us wanting to keep dots on him at all times a no-brainer. Since our multi-target and ability to keep damage on a boss while handling ads is good, we become one of the best classes for the fight. On heroic mode, we do have the option to get focused by a Direhorn Spirit, a big pink rhino that will keep walking towards you at a slow pace, and if it reaches you, it will kill you. People deal differently with this ad, but as you want to play Gozak with more specs, and every time you put your pet on it, it loses a lot of damage on Horridon. We need to avoid using a pet and use it to our advantage. For Destruction you can run Immolate to gain more embers, dots from Affliction for more damage, and shards from Corruption. As Demonology, you really want to have your ad up so you can run 100% crit doom with Corruption during the entire fight. Now it can be really annoying, so in the case where you feel uncomfortable with it, you can always put your imp out and put it on the ad and then back on the boss. As Destruction, you really don't want the Dire Beast at all if you play Manora's Fury, since we have to move a lot. But as Demonology with Manora's Fury, we can just run around and abuse our mobility and metamorphosis, and as Affliction we can play Gil'jaden's Cunning and run around with Observer Pet on the boss. If you play Soul Link, you won't die being outside raid cooldowns in the last phase, and we will min-max our DPS by not having to waste our pet hitting the Dire Beast, and we can run around freely DPSing the boss and only waste a few globals on the ad. Which spec should you take? This is not easy to answer because it depends where your guild lacks the damage. If we should put some rough guidelines for each spec, I would line them up like this. Pure Horridon padding, Demonology and Destruction works a bit similar while they are ahead of Affliction. On the ads, Destruction is above Affliction and Demonology in my opinion. Do note that World of Lux is bugged in terms of Affliction having people abuse the soul swap bug that was around for a while. Affliction's main issue on this fight is ads dying too fast, and casting Malefic Grasp on ads is a waste, meaning you only want to Malefic Grasp the boss, which results in boss padding. But let's dig into what each spec can bring you and choose what you feel like. Overall, Destruction most likely brings you the best damage on ads while being able to empty your never-ending embers into Horridon, so let's first take a look at that. As Destruction on Horridon, we want to play Sacrifice because we are able to shadow burn every ad below 20%, and as you may know, every time we shadow burn and the target dies within 5 seconds, we get 2 embers back. The fact that we get 2 embers back per ad we execute, and that we can spread Immolate and Rain of Fire on top of all the ads, our ember regeneration is out of control. As soon as you have endless embers, you want to be sure you stack Mastery together with Gozak as Destruction. Gozak increases our damage by Shadow Burn, Chaos Bolt, and non-fire and brimstone damage spells. But since our main damage will be from Shadow Burn and Chaos Bolt, Gozak just scales crazy up on this fight. That's why we don't wish to get the Direhorn Spirit fast, as if we play Manora's Fury we can't really move while DPSing despite Fell Flame being good and close to Incinerate. We don't want to summon a pet and losing the DPS of Sacrifice, but you can do it if you feel unsafe about failing with the movement and damage. When there's no ads up in the last phase, you can abuse the Direhorn to Havoc and Shadow Burn 3 times on Horridon for damage and knockbacks. You always want to land Shadow Burn on ads below 20% while keeping Rain of Fire up on ads and Horridon while spreading Immolate. Be sure to Havoc Horridon and cast 3 Shadow Burn on ads below 20%. They will hit Horridon, and because the damage bonus is a debuff on Horridon, the Shadow Burn will hit him harder. If you lack damage on the ads, you can fire on Brimstone to activate your AoE spells and do your normal rotation to hit everything. But if you want to pad a bit, you should focus Chaos Balls into Horridon as much as you can while never missing a Shadow Burn on the ad. You can fire on Brimstone a big clump of ads in case they don't die fast, but there's only a few ads up. We want to Shadow Burn and focus more into Horridon. Affliction has great multi-dotting options while you want to maintain dots at all times on Horridon. That's why Affliction isn't super padding spec on this fight, as maintaining our dots on Horridon is fairly easy and not time consuming while you're still able to multi-dot all the ads and drain soul for shots. Obviously overkilling an ad that dies early with your dot line on it means that you aren't being efficient with your dots, so if you aren't lacking DPS on the mobs, you can throw Malefic Grasp into the boss. You want to play Ghost up on this fight, as we aren't spending much time casting Malefic Grasp. I personally stack Heavy Mastery on this fight with around 9778 haste cap, since a row of Mastery buff dots would beat a full haste Warlock. Mastery shines on this fight for Affliction in my opinion. You can always keep dots on Horridon, you can even waste a shard for having Haunt on him, but this is only as long as the adds die in a fairly good pace. If you lack add damage, just spread as many Soulburn soul swaps as possible. Demonology with Ghostsag is insanely strong on this fight in terms of raw Horridon damage, but that would be considered padding the meters. We got some great options to multi-dot Doom on the big adds, and we can keep 2 Dooms rolling with 100% crit on our Direhorn Spirit and Horridon, giving us a good armament of imps. If we play Mannerous Fury, you are able to go Metamorphosis a lot and activate Immolation Aura while you focus your damage spells into Horridon to pull all your imps on him. You can use those imps to nuke down adds as well if you lack DPS. I think Demonology is really underrated on this fight. You can control where you put your damage very well and have great AoE abilities. If Horridon is close to the adds, 2 Hand of Gul'dan's into Metamorphosis will do huge amounts of damage to everything with Immolation Aura ticking as well. If you want to pad on this fight, you keep your imps on the boss as much as possible. If you're a team player, you swap your little imp army around on the adds needed to be killed. I would personally play 8100 haste with rest into mastery on this fight, or if you get very good gear, you can consider going for the higher doom tick caps. Now let's look at some general tips for all the specs. Don't use your Doom God before there's 1 minute left of the fight. We want our Doom God to hit the boss when he has all the debuffs of damage taken. Use all your normal cooldowns on the pull so it lines up better. No point to save them for the first gate adds. Focus the boss to keep track of your dots always being up and a fast way to target and renew them. Mouse over macros can help you, especially as destruction. Focus Havoc or mouse over Havoc can help you fastly get Havoc off without having to target Horridon and Shadowburn adds straight after. Save your potion for Bloodlust for the end of the fight. Now thanks for watching and keep your eyes out for a Destruction class guide soon.